Hi guys, welcome to SS Cars. Today we're going to talk about the Porsche Macan Turbo, which I have in the drive here, and about how wonderful a car this is in terms of mixing absolute sports capability with almost luxury ride, a very refined and comfortable ride. It's a four-door SUV, but it's immaculately styled, and I actually think it looks absolutely fantastic. And I took delivery of this car a couple of months ago, and since then I've had it down to the south of France and back, and I'm absolutely blown away by the capability that it has and what it can actually achieve. So where does the Macan sit in the Porsche lineup? It's their second SUV, so it's really a competitor for the X3, the top end of the X3, the Audi Q5 and the Volvo, that have very similar machines of this type. And what Porsche have done here is they've really produced a car that does all those things. So it's reasonably capable off-road. It has off-road buttons inside the car to allow you to vary the ground type that you're covering, and on top of that it has absolutely fantastic road holding. It's got special systems to actually manage the roll between the different sides of the vehicle when driven round corners at speed, and as a consequence of that there is almost no roll, and it handles just like a sports car. I actually think that the shape is absolutely fantastic. I think they've got the lines of the car absolutely perfect. You probably know that its big brother is called the Cayenne, and the Cayenne came out probably about 10 years or so ago now, and it's become a fairly common sight on our roads, so I'm sure everybody knows what they look like. This is definitely more compact than the Cayenne, so it's narrower, it's shorter, but I think the styling is absolutely spot on. You can see that this car has what we call the side blades, which can either be specified in carbon fibre or in the colour of the car, which I particularly like them in the colour of the car rather than having the contrast, but the carbon fibre side blades look extremely good too. This car has the 21-inch rims, so the wheels are 21-inch with 265 tyres at the front and 295 tyres at the back, and I think it gives the car a very purposeful look. It looks sporty the second that you look at it, but you know, with SUVs a lot of them look quite sporty, and they flatter to deceive in some ways, whereas this car does actually perform in exactly the way that it looks. You can see also that the car is specified with the full panoramic roof system in glass, which gives a very airy feeling to the cabin, even when, as you'll see inside this car, when I open it up, you'll see that I have a black interior, but the black interior, obviously being a dark interior, benefits from having the sunroof. What I'm going to do is, what I thought we'd do is we come round to the rear of the car, and I think I'll open it up and we'll just go through a few of the features. You can obviously see the rear lights are smoked, and you have the indicators in the centre, and we'll show you this later, and the brake lights at the rear, and the rear boot is accessed by pushing the button under the wiper, and it's electrical, and it's a good size. And again, if I show you here, just take a second to lift this up if I can, you have another area underneath here, which there's a significant amount of room in there to be able to put the bits that you want to have out of sight. There we are. The parcel shelf folds down, comme ça, like this, and you can see that the seats go forward to give you extra room for loading and for luggage space if there's just two of you actually travelling. Leave that for a second. Sort it out again. To close it, it's just a button. What I like about the rear of the car is it's a very purposeful stance. So you have the four exhausts, two either side of the central diffuser, which provides significant downforce when travelling at speed. It really works, makes the car feel very planted. And then, because of course the car's four-wheel drive, travelling in nasty conditions, so wet and slippery conditions, makes the car feel, the four-wheel drive system makes the car feel extremely sure-footed. But I think that's true of all SUVs. But most SUVs don't have the performance of this car. Now this car has 400 HP. It's a twin turbo, 3.6 litre engine, and the performance figures are about 4.6 to 60 and a top speed of over 165 miles an hour. So enough performance for everyday needs. The outer ends of the performance only to be experienced on the German Autobahn, or if you go to the Isle of Man, as you probably know, is de-restricted as well. What Porsche have done with the Macan is they have three models in the range. They have the Macan Diesel, which has about 258 HP, and the Macan S, which is a petrol model, a 3 litre petrol 6, which is also a turbo, but not called the turbo, and it produces 340 HP, so it's a very fast car in its own right. And the Macan S tends to sit at the top end of the X3 and the Q5 ranges. Now we know that Jaguar are bringing out their SUV fairly soon, and again it's supposed to be aimed directly at the Macan, so it'd be very interesting to see how good it is at holding the road, and whether they've managed to replicate the sporting credentials of the Macan. It is likely, though, they won't have the engine from the Range Rover Sport, the 550 brake horsepower engine in it, so probably 340 brake will be at the top end of their range. If I show you inside, you can see that it's very driver centric. It has the 18-way adjustable sports seats, memory controlled of course, and this particular one has heating for all four seats, so the two front ones and the two at the rear. And again, I don't know whether you can see that, Chris, but it's the central rev counter takes pride of place with a digital readout of the miles per hour immediately below, which means really you only have to focus on the central dial. The steering wheel is taken straight out of the Porsche 918 Spider supercar, and it's a fantastic feel to it. Very few functions, some functions allowing you to rotate the third dial here, which allows you to look at some of the information available normally on the central screen. So you can pull up your satellite navigation, for example, into this dial here. And we'll cover a little bit more about the interior later on, but I love the center console with all the buttons down it. It looks a little confusing initially, but you get used to it, and actually ergonomically it's extremely sound. Everything is actually where you would expect it. Show you the engine. I actually love the way that the engine lifts. You can see that again, to give the car its flowing looks, it actually, the bonnet comes right the way down the side here, and the lights are fixed, and the bonnet fits round them. Oh, it's a little fiddly. And that's the 3.6 V6 twin turbo. There's a turbo in each bank of cylinders. That was actually, as you can see. But I think it's a, you know, it's not It's not the most exciting looking engine, but the car weighs about 1900 kgs, and as a consequence of that, there's a lot of power. And it plays both roles really. It's really purposeful when you have the sports exhaust system pushed. Now this particular car has come specified with the sports exhaust system. Adds a little bit of extra power, but mostly sounds absolutely fantastic when you're on it. But then again, when you're not, you push the button off, the valves close, and it's like driving a luxury car. It's very comfortable at speed, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, absolutely perfect. In fact, when we were traveling through France, we tended to stick to the speed limit, which is 81, 130 kilometers, and it was absolutely silent. You couldn't hear the engine, very little wind noise, very nice for traveling long distances. One of the other things about this car is the active aerodynamics. You can't see right now, but inside the grille here are actually flaps which open. They open for two reasons: to provide extra downforce by channeling the air through the grille and then down the bottom of the car, but also it provides air to the engine, and it selects whether the engine is either, we're going very quickly so we need the active aerodynamics in play, but also it will detect when the engine needs extra additional air when the engine is above a certain operating temperature. So it's very, very efficient. I love the Bizenon lights which are incorporated there. They swivel, so when you're actually going around a corner, they'll follow the line of the road, which gives you the ability to see the curb, which would normally fall away from you if you were driving in the dark. You have the side lights integrated into the bumper here, the fog lights obviously below, and the indicators here. I think that really looks good. I really like that. Okay, so close up, pushing along there. Completely flat underneath, just like you'd get with a sports car. Interestingly, before I had this car, I had a Ferrari FF, and of course the FF is the four-seated, two-door Ferrari, ironically weighing about the same as this, has four-wheel drive on demand, and as a consequence of that, it's two-wheel drive normally, but passes power to the front wheels when it detects slippage. The FF is a very low-slung car, and it is deliberately built for driving quickly on fast A roads and to an extent through the country lanes. On fast A roads, this would be almost as good as the FF, and on country lanes this would be better than the FF. And given how high off the ground this car is, as an SUV needs to be because of its dual purpose as an off-roader as well, I think that is absolutely remarkable. Porsche produced an absolutely amazing sports car here that looks like an SUV.